All right, family, it's your boy Josh back again with another video. And today we have our iPhone 16 Pro Max versus the OnePlus 13. So these two phones right now are some of my favorite phones on the market, and they have a lot more similarities with them than differences. So let's go ahead and talk about it.
I'm changing who I am. I'm making a new plan, rearranging my life, and I won't look back ever again. And you ain't see me activated. You better roll.
Now, I want to start with the body of the OnePlus 13. This phone is absolutely immaculate. You know, I'm not even typically a guy who enjoys the satin sides, but the sides on this device are so beautiful. The way it shines with the blue vegan leather. It is gorgeous, man. It feels so good holding this phone. It's so slim. Obviously, this phone has a massive battery, even compared to the iPhone, but when I put these guys side to side, this phone feels so much slimmer. Now, when we look at the iPhone, this one has a very industrial design to me. I do love the matte sides on this device. I love the camera layout. I know it's been used for a very long time, but this camera layout to me is absolutely beautiful. Apple devices always have great hardware, and this one is no exception. Now, I came from the iPhone 13 Pro Max, and when I first picked up this phone, I was so shocked with how small the phone felt in hand. So of course, the screen got larger. It's a 6.9-inch screen now on this phone. With them jumping over to titanium and also rounding out the edges of the body, it really still has the iPhone feel, which is a very solid piece of glass and metal. But the way they did it on this phone, it is so precise. I don't even know how to explain it. They did a really good job with this. Looking over at the hardware, well, it's a tough call to me. Both phones are so beautiful that I can't really choose which one I enjoy the most. When we look at the displays, this is the best display Apple has had on one of their iPhones. I love the extremely thin bezels. It makes the phone feel so immersive, and I love that about it. Now, the bezels on the OnePlus 13 is no slouch, but they are a little bit more noticeable. Now, with the OnePlus, I'm not typically a fan of the curved edges, the curved glass, but on this phone, it is so slight that I actually enjoy it. Now, I don't enjoy not having a glass screen protector. That to me is a huge pet peeve. But I am still using the original screen protector on the OnePlus 13. I have one edge that's peeling up, but it's not really that big of a deal. But with these curved edges, it makes the phone so immersive. There really is a difference whenever you use these two devices. I think I love them both generally the same. But if I had to choose one in terms of the way it looks, I will have to choose the iPhone, just because I think the dynamic island is cool. You know, it's kind of weird having a big ass hole in the top of your phone, but the way Apple did it, it's like their trademark, man. It's gorgeous. Now, when you look at the specs, there's no comparison, but whenever you actually use the two devices, they are very similar. These two phones, the sharpness, I would say, feels about the same, and the brightness feels very similar as well, but that OnePlus just gets a little bit more bright. I know the specs indicate that it's a massive jump in terms of brightness, but in typical brightness scenarios, like whenever I'm inside the house or using it in normal lighting, both phones get really bright. But I will say that the OnePlus definitely gets brighter. Now, one area where I feel that the OnePlus does not compete with is the video quality and photos. I will say OnePlus has really amped up their photos, but the consistency is not there just yet. My particular OnePlus device has weirdness with photos, especially if I use 3x and above. There's a weird smoothing effect to the majority of my photos, and I do not like that. And it doesn't seem to be a way to turn that off, which is something I am not currently enjoying. But overall, the photos look really, really good. I was very, very surprised on how well the photos look. I love the colors of the OnePlus photos. that Hasselblad partnership really assisted with the colors, that's for sure. But overall, I think the photos on the iPhone are better, and I think that the video quality is miles better. Now with the iPhone, you can shoot 4K 30 with portrait video, or as Apple calls it, cinematic mode. And with the OnePlus, you can only shoot in 1080 30. So OnePlus, you have to find a way to get portrait 4K 30 on your videos, man. I'm using my Galaxy S24 and this phone has 4K 30 for portrait video, but you can't do it on the OnePlus. That to me is a huge issue. So I can't really use it for portrait at all, just because of that limitation. The iPhone photos look so natural. It just looks really good no matter what setting I use, no matter if I use log video, no matter if I use the cinematic video, no matter if I use front cam, back cam, it looks so good. The iPhone is still unbeatable with all my Pixels and Galaxies and OnePluses. The photos and videos to me are unmatched. Now I do think the ultra wide camera looks great on this OnePlus. And I think that's pretty comparable, honestly. Even the ultra wide video, it's very comparable to what Apple now has. But yeah, overall, the iPhone definitely wins. Now, one place the iPhone can't touch, period, is performance. The OnePlus, now what I did was turn it up to max resolution, or high resolution, I believe is what they call it. And I turned on maximum refresh rate. You have to do that if you get this OnePlus 13. There's no reason not to. We'll talk about battery in a little bit. Even with the screen refresh rate set to high and the screen resolution set to high as well, this phone screams. There are occasions to where I'll scroll on this phone for, I don't know, a few minutes, and then I'll jump over and use my iPhone and I go, wow, my iPhone does not feel very smooth at all. And I have not been able to say that with any other phone I've used except the OnePlus 13. The performance on this phone is ridiculous. It's to the point to where it almost makes other phones feel slow. It really does. Phones that feel fast for a lot of people, it makes them feel slow. Like my iPhone right now is still extremely smooth. It still scrolls very smoothly, but the OnePlus has smooth and fast, which I can't really say about any other phone that I've personally used. Now, I have not used the new S25 Ultra just yet, but performance-wise, wow. The OnePlus is out of this world. Snapdragon 8 Elite is the first chip to beat a flagship iPhone, and you can really tell. So whenever I do all of my gaming, I do it on my OnePlus 13. It is that good. It is really good. The AI features, I have made a couple of videos on the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the AI features. I actually use the features quite a bit, especially the ChatGPT integration. But with the OnePlus, they had their own built-in AI features where you swipe from the right and you get access to that side panel. Those features, to me, I am at the point where I can honestly turn it off. I don't use it like at all. But I do use Gemini on this OnePlus 13, and it works great. But I will say that on the iPhone, you can also use Gemini, so it makes that point mute. But yeah, whenever you look at the built-in AI option, I think the iPhone does do it better just because you have ChatGPT built in. Now, I can still hold down the power button on the OnePlus and access Gemini, but I have to download Gemini in order to get that working. Now, whenever we look at call quality and speed of the wireless networks, they are neck and neck to me. The OnePlus is actually one of the best Android phones I've ever used in terms of cellular connectivity. I have spots in my house that the majority of my older phones, except the Pixel 9 Pro, I think that's the next best Android phone in my experience. I have older devices that I almost get no bars inside of my house depending on where I go, but the OnePlus constantly gives me good connection. And the audio quality is actually very nice as well. So I had the iPhone 13 Pro Max. This device blows it out of the water in terms of cellular connectivity. It is rock solid 24/7, Wi-Fi 6, everything. Same way with the OnePlus 13, but both of these phones get really, really good connectivity compared to other older phones that I've used. So no issues there. They're both fantastic. So guys, obviously this phone runs iOS and the OnePlus runs Oxygen OS. Now I will say I was very, very impressed with Oxygen OS. Oxygen OS for me does have a few bugs. I know for a lot of people there are notification-based issues, and I did have that issue with one of my apps, which I did make a video on. And I've had other bugs like with the always on display and with the occasional app crash. But honestly, Android 15 and this new version of Oxygen OS has been more consistent than the iPhone. The iPhone has had its fair share of updates, and I know this is their first couple of updates with AI, but this is one of the buggiest iPhones I've ever had. And obviously the hardware and the specs are great on the iPhone, but I will say that Apple needs to get back to where they used to be in terms of software. So the biggest issue I have on my iPhone 16 Pro Max right now, which I have had since inception, is the camera, and specifically the launching of the camera. So if I want to quickly capture a photo, I notice that there are occasions to where it just doesn't work, where the phone goes black and stays black to where I can't capture the photo I need to capture. So I typically have to click the power button, turn it off, turn it back on, and then like use a different camera shortcut in order to get to the camera. It is absolutely insane. I don't know how Apple has not fixed this yet, and it's not just me. It's a lot of people that have this issue. Apple, you got to get it together. That is honestly the biggest bug with this phone. And I occasionally have frame rate issues as well on my iPhone 16 Pro Max, unfortunately. So I'm kind of a stickler for performance, especially now that I'm used to Mr. Lightning McQueen, the OnePlus 13. So yeah, Apple needs to get back on top in terms of having software that just works. I will have to give that edge to the OnePlus 13. So guys, battery life. Battery life to me is very close, but I think the OnePlus 13 edges it just a little bit. I can honestly go all day with both of these phones from like 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. And both phones can have between 40 and 60% left. And I can use both devices into the next day and not have to charge until the evening after. So typically a day and a half. But I will say that the charging on the OnePlus 13 is so ridiculous that it feels like you're in the future. So I can run the OnePlus 13 on a full day and a half and then go like plug in the phone, go take a shower really quickly, or go, I don't know, play fetch with my dog for 5 minutes and come back and the phone is damn near fully charged. It is insane how fast this phone charges. And that's one feature that is hard to beat. But yeah, the iPhone 16 Pro Max to me still has very good battery life as well. So yeah, guys, I love both of these phones and I love them pretty equally, but if I had to choose one for one person, I will have to say the OnePlus 13 may be the way to go. Now, one thing you have to consider is the price. So the upfront price on the iPhone 16 Pro Max is more expensive by a couple $100 or a few $100s. But the iPhone does hold its value very well, which is one thing that is great. And not only that, but the OnePlus only offers 4 years of operating system updates. And the iPhone typically can go for numerous years, 7, 8 years. So that's one thing to look at overall as well. And I think that's one thing that you should consider when you buy a new phone, depending on who you are. A few $100s cheaper, but when you think about it, especially right now with the deals that OnePlus has, or even without the $100 off, this phone you get 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage. 512. Now, if I paid for 512 gigs on my 16 Pro Max, it would be stupid expensive, hundreds of dollars more expensive. So I think that value there is highly beneficial. So I think that assists the OnePlus in being a better option for a lot of people. But if I had to choose a phone to recommend right now, the OnePlus 13 is where it's at. I mean, Apple, like, I love my Apple Watch. You know, I love the Apple ecosystem. I love using an iPhone. But if I could only have one phone today, it's easily the OnePlus 13. So thank you guys for checking out this video. I plan to make a lot more content, so make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what phone you would prefer, or if you prefer a different device than these two devices, then let me know in the comments as well. I appreciate you all for checking in. I'll see you next time.